This is ThinkTech Hawaii. Community matters here.
And welcome to another episode of Electable Science here on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your host, Ethan Allen. Thanks for joining us this Friday afternoon. With me today in the ThinkTech studios are David Bunau. Sorry if I'm Bunau.
David Bunau.
David Bunau, sorry, I apologize. And Sunil Thapa. Both sort of loosely associated with Oceanit. Yeah. Sunil, more so, he's a chemical engineer at Oceanit. David has been working with Oceanit as a student instructor and helping teach classes on this aspect of coding, right? And the unique part of this coding stuff is this little car that you can probably see in front of us here. And it's, I guess this is from Korea, if I'm not mistaken. But maybe we should step back before we get into that and talk a little bit more about why coding is of interest now, why it's considered so valuable. David, you want to field that?
Sure. Well, one of the things about coding is that it's becoming a blue-collar job. So coding, it's becoming really relevant, and with all the new technology that's coming out, so to be able to learn coding, you learn not only a whole new mindset, but a whole new skill that everyone's going to need.
Okay, that's right. And the reason these cars sort of make it neat is?
So we love these cars because it takes coding and programming that's normally just happening on a screen and brings it into the real world. So there's a physical object that responds to your code, and something that when you type in a command, you'll see an action happen, and you can tell whether it did it correctly or if you had made a mistake and does something totally unexpected.
Right, gives you that immediate feedback in the real world.
Plus, who doesn't love controlling a remote control car?
Sure. And speaking of that, I think we have a little video that sort of shows some of the things this car can do. We didn't really have space to lay it out here in the studio. I hope we can bring that video on up and. So that was pretty cool there. So maybe, Sunil, you can tell us a little bit about how Oceanit sort of got involved in this. It seems like it's one of the million things that Oceanit's involved in.
Yeah.
What drew you to this?
Yeah, so Oceanit's a company centered around innovation and technology, and so this Altino thing isn't part of our main business and interest and focus. But over the years, we've gotten involved heavily in education through design thinking and helping the design thinking community take off, both in the community, both in the business world, and then also in schools. And so we do a lot of work with our technology development with partners in Korea. And so we had our Korean partners knew that we were involved in education, and they were telling us about how South Korea has this new mandate that next year coding will become a core curriculum for all of their schools, K through 12. So every student is required to take a coding class every year of school. And we were really surprised by that, and we're wondering, how is that possible? How do you, in the span of a few years, make it so that every student, every teacher is teaching coding and knows coding?
It's a huge scale problem, right?
And so in the years leading up to this, a lot of technology came out to help teach coding. And so this car is one of those technologies that they developed as a teaching tool. So the Altino car that we have here basically was a way that they could teach both their teachers and their students how to code in order to get to this point where every student gets it as part of their curriculum.
Yeah, and so you're sort of trying to, in some sense, do the same thing here in Hawaii, right? Really.
So we thought that, we're a local tech company. Why not Hawaii? So our partners introduced us to the car. We got their curriculum. We adapted it for Hawaii, and we started working with local teachers to teach teachers coding so that they can teach their students as well and introduce it to Hawaii.
And you clearly got some students involved.
Yeah, and we have some students who are instructing teachers.
Right. So how did you even get involved in this?
Well, I guess it all kind of stems back from this internship that I got into. And from there, I worked with a whole bunch of different companies. Oceanit was one of them. And then I got dragged into their design thinking workshop. And then from there, I kind of made connections with Ian and Samil. And then they brought me into the whole coding thing. After learning it pretty quickly, they kind of just had me become a student instructor.
Okay. Sounds like a sensible path.
Well, yeah, I mean, the
Very
students
sensible.
pick it up faster than teachers a lot of the time.
I mean,
So.
it's the classic thing. If you've got a tech problem, right? Find your teenager because they'll solve it much quicker than we will.
So the students became the star students of the class, and they quickly became the assistant instructors.
Excellent. So this now is Altino is the name of the software, the car, the.
So it's the name of the car. So the car is made by a Korean company called Seon.
Okay.
And so Altino is the car system. But within it, it incorporates some other cool systems. So on top of that, there's this board that allows us to run the code, and that's an Arduino-based board.
Oh, okay.
So it pairs with the Arduino Maker universe. And so learning programming, you're learning how to control the car, and then you're also getting an introduction into the world of Arduino.
Okay. And the beauty of this is, at least as you were explaining to me some while ago, that it's not just about running a car, right? I mean, you can do all kinds of things. So maybe you can tell us some of the different things besides just driving the car around, right?
Well, one of the most important things, I think, is not the car itself, but it's the message that it sends. This car was originally made to teach stay-at-home moms how to code. So it kind of sends that proof that anyone can learn to code.
No, let's not put stay-at-home moms down. No, it's true. It makes it, again, as Sunil was saying, it makes it very, very real what you're doing. And you pick up when the car turns and smacks into a wall, you realize you did something wrong, right?
Yeah.
But beyond this, it really can also be used to help in all kinds of academic areas, right?
Yeah, so it really is, I mean, in a lot of ways, people don't realize this, but coding isn't just like a technical platform where it's all logic and there's no creativity. It's actually a very powerful tool for creativity. It's a creativity platform almost. I mean, in these days, coding's heavily involved in media, movie making, animation, music, light shows, and all of that. All involves technical coding. And with the car specifically, you get elements of that. So on the hood of the car, there's an LED display where you can display pictures and diagrams and logos. There's a speaker that can play different tones, so you can play music on the car. And you know, even just driving around, you can drive it around in different patterns. And that's kind of the cool, fun thing is figuring out what you can do and what you can create with the car.
Right, so you could set up a large map and use it in a geography lesson, have your drive around the world, as it were.
Yeah, so in the teaching environment, you know, part of our philosophy is we're not necessarily saying that we should use this car as a strictly coding-only class. You know, students leave one class and they go into a specific computer science programming classroom. I mean, that's great, but our goal with this car is to make it a tool that you can use in different curriculum environments. So in a history class, you know, you can use the car to, you know, drive around a map and map, you know, the Oregon Trail or the voyages of a Polynesian canoe if you had an ocean map, right? In music class, you could have it play a song. You could program it to do that. In an art class, you can, you know, do patterns or maybe even strap a pen to it and have it drive around on a sheet of paper and make a pattern and see what kind of designs you can. There are all kinds of things that you can experiment and do with this car. And so it's really just a platform to experiment with and make the curriculum more exciting.
Right. So this gets back to your point that coding is very central. It's not. It's a sort of underlying tool now to a lot of student work, basically, and basically a lot of real world non-school work that goes on too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be more so. So my question though is coding then going to be taken over and done all by artificial intelligence within the next 10 years? So is this a short-lived fad, or do you think it's going to continue to?
Well, I think it's not going to be a fad. It's definitely going to be for the next generations and this generation even. Because one of the things is that, sure, we can always have robots automate what we need to do, but the real jobs are going to be programming those robots, fixing those robots.
I mean, one of the hardest part people are worried about AI and stuff like that. So one of the toughest things for technology to do is the critical thinking that people do in their problem solving. So being able to step through a process and figure out all the different actions that you need to take and the order and making those decisions, a lot of that are skills that humans are very good at that computers need our help.
Right. Sort of the general intelligence is something that virtually no good artificial intelligence systems have. They can sort through piles of data, find all kinds of...
They can learn patterns, but you got to feed it the information to get it there.
Yeah, although they're very good now at digging out patterns themselves within scads of information and learning from those patterns, right? The AlphaGo that became such a good Go player, such a classic example. So we can also, I think one of the nice things about this in education is we were talking about the sort of quick feedback from it. So it's a really great assessment tool, right?
Yeah.
You understand quickly if the student got the lesson, but there's the penalties for driving wrong are not as severe as they are in a real car, right?
Yeah.
Where you drive badly and make a mistake, it's $1,000 or somebody's life. Here it's just a little car. So that offers, I think, again, that's I think useful to educators to get into that mindset of let's rely much more on this formative assessment, which is really informing our instruction and helping the students learn rather than the summative assessment at the end, right?
Yeah, so I mean that's part of the model of how we at Oceanit work is as an innovation company. A lot of innovation fails at first, and so we're used to a culture where we're okay with failure because it's a tool for learning and for improving our designs, our ideas, and our solutions. So we're a big proponent for failing as a method for learning, and programming. I mean that's a central part of programming. There's no one who's a professional program gets their program running on their first crack. There's always a bug to be fixed, and I mean even you look at big commercial softwares that's out there, there's always updates, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So they're always fixing, and that's part of being in the real world. Nothing works perfectly, so you're always trying to get it better and better.
Exactly.
And so that's part of the learning process. It's not a bad thing to fail, it's part of the natural process.
Right, and what you want to learn is how to learn from each mistake, and it's not a signal to give up, it's a signal
to work through it.
Yeah, let's figure out what went wrong here, right?
Yeah, let's not penalize people for making a mistake, let's have them grow from it.
Right, when you see your web page one day is all like screwed up with code going up all over it, it's no reason to say, I'm done with web pages, right?
You fix it.
Right, you figure out why is that happening now? What changed? Was it that a new system came in, or I introduced some new page in my web page which fouled everything else up? So that's great. But you've been using these actually beyond schools too, right? There was a nice little news clip a while ago I saw about you went to Wahiawa Prison.
Halawa, Halawa. So and it just goes to show that coding is just about for anyone really. And so we've been working closely with the education staff at Halawa Correctional Facility, and then some of their other facilities brought their instructors, and so we ran a class for their instructors over the summer, and just recently Halawa had their first class with the inmates, and I mean it's really powerful seeing how well they take it up, and it's a motivation for them to improve their skills, and then gives them the ability to do something productive when they come out, and gives them some hope for a future coming out.
But they're actually being productive there and learning a useful skill. Hey, this is wonderful. We're going to have to take a short break. I'm here with Davian Banau, and Sunil Thapa, both associated with Oceanit and Altino car, and we will be talking a little more about this when we come back from a break. So don't go away.
Ted Ralston here, folks, your host on Where the Drone Leads, our weekly show at noon on Thursdays here on ThinkTech, where we talk about drones, anything to do about drones, remotely piloted aircraft, unmanned air systems, whatever you want to call them, emerging into Hawaii's economy, educational framework, and our public life. We talk about things associated with the use, the misuse, technology, engineering, legislation, with local experts as well as people from across the country. Please join us noon on Thursdays and catch the latest on what's taking place in the world of drones that might affect you.
Planning all week for the day of the big game. Watching at home just doesn't feel the same. Number one on the list is who's gonna drive. It's nice to know you're gonna get home alive. Plan for fun and responsibility. Choose the DD, captain of our team. It's the DD.
For every game day, assign a designated driver.
And welcome back to Likeable Science. I'm your host, Ethan Allen. I'm here with Sumil Thapa and David Now, both associated with Oceanit's program, working with the Altino cars here. And you'll see this one here is zooming around in a very organized, programmed fashion. You can see this is a pretty amazing little vehicle. It's quite maneuverable.
Yeah.
And so far, he hasn't driven it off the edge of the table. So once you started getting some teachers, a few teachers trained, then you realized like you needed to scale the whole business up, right?
Yeah.
And so you approached the Department of Education and organized a professional development class, basically.
Yeah. So I mean, we started by doing weekend workshops. So it's we were doing six class workshops, so it's over the course of 6 weeks. And eventually we decided to partner with the DOE, and we developed a professional development course for teachers. So we ran two workshops over the summer, one with the Castle School Complex, Castle Kahuku, and then the second one was with the Waianae Nanakuli School Complex. So we had about over 20 teachers at each of those workshops, and just training them. Most of those teachers had no coding background. So that was kind of the beauty of it, is these are teachers from elementary through high school, PE, special ed, English, history, computer science as well, robotics team, but the full spectrum of teachers, and they're all learning how to code and controlling the car.
That's great, and you know, it really should encourage teacher collaboration. And when these teachers have been working together on projects like this, it's like, oh, well, how can I work my fellow teacher now? I'm a social science teacher. How do I work my math teacher? And you know, can this little thing be a bridge sort of between it, right?
Yeah. And we're really fortunate to be able to host those workshops. We did it in a way where the complexes actually got the cars. So they weren't just getting the training, but we gave a set of cars to both complexes, so the teachers would have the cars available when they do their lessons with their student.
Sure, that's what makes them all fun, right? Yeah, excellent. And but you guys aren't really educators by training, at least, right?
Not
Not in the slightest.
Right, but you're now getting some experience and expertise in that, and begin to understand what it takes. It's not enough just to be able to code yourself, but to be able to get other people to code well.
Yeah, and you know, the best way to learn is to teach yourself.
Sure.
Right, and the process of teaching hones your own skills. But in a way, that's been an advantage for us, because we don't know what's taboo in the teaching world. We don't know what's okay and not okay. I mean, we just try something out. If it works, we keep working with it, and then if it doesn't, then we get feedback, and that's part of the nice thing about working with teachers, is they can, at the end of the class, they give us a lot of feedback on, oh, you know, maybe you want to tweak this portion, or maybe present it in this way to make it more understandable. And so as we've been going along, we've been constantly changing our course and refining it, and getting better at teaching, and as well as developing material to support the classes.
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, that's so critical, is to get to keep getting your teaching skills better and better, right?
And in a way, just like how I was saying earlier, failing is part of the process.
Right.
I mean, even in developing this class, we kind of just tried it, and as we went along, we refined it and took out the parts that didn't work and replaced it with fixes.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So do you see this as sort of an evolutionary step in the whole business of education, or is it more of a sort of revolutionary?
I think education's already been moving in the direction of more, STEM education, coding, and robotics. So over the years, robotics has been very big. Kind of what we see ourselves doing is we're helping. We've seen there's a need and a want for this, and we've been kind of helping jumpstart and opening up a path to help people who want to get into robotics and coding and software. Giving them a path to introduce themselves and expose themselves to get them started.
Yeah, and that's often critical, is lowering that initial threshold to make it easier so people who have a sort of interest or almost a whim to try something like that are able to do so without a real huge investment of time and energy, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's like with the way education's set up right now with coding and robotics, I mean, there are a lot of people who are very motivated, and I mean, for those people, they've managed, go on a robotics team and stuff. And so 1%, and for those people, coding and robotics has been great. But our goal is to, how can we, offer something that's accessible to the rest, the 99%. People who aren't necessarily comfortable, who aren't willing to take the risk, or don't have the confidence to get into it, and make the bar low enough and safe enough for them to attempt it. And maybe they might make a discovery and find out that they actually really like this.
Right. If one out of those 99% discovers that they've got a real talent for it and a real love for it, then you've done a great thing, right? By
so for us, the goal is exposing as many students to the possibilities and letting them ultimately decide if that's something they really want to pursue, but at least having the opportunity to see what that's like.
So you've taken part as an instructor for some of these teachers, and do you then help them get it to their students also?
I've been mainly just working with the teachers and my instructees.
Okay.
Kind of just working with the students and everyone, trying to teach it to them.
Okay. But there's got to be this sort of scale-up process where you've got to be training people to be trainers themselves, right? Yeah, and that's because that's the only way. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed.
Well, so I mean, that's the nice thing about teaching teachers, right? I mean, they have the willingness and the experience to teach. So, in long term, our goal is to teach enough teachers, and maybe a few of them become master instructors, and kind of teach our way out of the system, and make it a self-sustaining ecosystem.
Yeah. If they'll take that on, then and not drop out of teaching, then,
that's one of our fears going in. Is like, will we get all these teachers super good at coding, and then
they'll get coding jobs,
become coders?
Right. Well, I mean, we laugh about it, but I mean, the teaching profession has a very serious issue with turnover of staff. It's the average teacher, I think, here in Hawaii stays for less than 5 years in the system, and we need well-trained. We need excellent teachers. They're critical. So it's great that you're assisting with them here. And so, how are you sort of scaling up your own program? I mean, you can only do X number of classes, right?
And it really is trying to find people who are passionate about it. So, we've been reaching out to other groups and teachers and CS teachers and different, there are a lot of groups, robotics teams, programming development teams, and organizations. DevLeague, Code.org, and the whole robotics VEX, the First Lego League, and all of those things. And so it really is about trying to get excitement within the community, and then certain people are willing and excited enough to want to spread and help others learn. And so that's what as we go through these classes, we're trying to identify people and partners who can help us expand and become teachers and grow it so that we're not the only ones doing
Right, so
this.
you're having now probably to develop a sort of second level class for the
Yeah.
who have done well in the first level to
Yeah.
really show them, okay, now we can really begin to do interesting things with this, right?
Yeah.
It's fascinating as how much of that is going on. I just saw a little blurb today. I guess Lego is now doing drones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have
they have
it's a little
kits.
plastic block
Yeah.
company, Yeah, it's amazing. It's stunning what's going on. So, if you had to advise some of your fellow students about coding and how to prepare for tomorrow's world with coding, what advice would you give them?
Well, you just start with this. You start with the Altino cars because it's probably the best way to learn coding. It's so applicable. It's just the trial and error process that you can cut through. And you learn by doing, because it's a lot harder just by typing on a computer, because it doesn't really do much. But this translates to real world actions.
Yeah, that's the physical reality of it does make a real difference. You see that what you're doing is having an impact right away.
Yeah.
And having a car that follows your command or not generates a lot of excitement.
That's
like
right.
I mean, in our classes we'll have races and competitions and people get really into it, right?
They get really excited.
I'm sure. No, it's right away you can see it's tremendous potential to take this into all kinds of different areas. But because yes, we all think of auto races as being a real classic kind of thing, and so everyone's going to want to do that. And who can move around what course best most quickly? Yeah.
And even doing something as simple as figuring out how to make the car drift.
Yeah.
I mean, you would be surprised how excited people get about the idea of making their car drift and programming that in.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. No, it's I can see this would have a tremendous appeal to a lot of people. That's a very powerful tool then to help move this whole process ahead. And Sumila, if you were going to talk to your colleagues, your fellow engineers, about supporting this, what kind of advice would you give them to move into this field?
I mean, part of it is just trying. Like you were saying, I have no formal background in teaching. I mean, I don't really have a strong formal background in programming even. I'm an engineer by training. I took programming when I was in high school for a year. And that's my only formal training, and I started learning about the Altino car and then just trying it out, and through the course of being an assistant instructor and working with the material and practicing and teaching, kind of learned how to do it myself, and with support from the others, right? And so it's just a matter of trying, and it helps that it's a neat toy to experiment with, and actually through this. This was my introduction to the world of Arduino, which is really exciting for me because in my work, some of the things that I do involves developing and prototyping new gadgets and helping me do my lab work and experimentation.
Right.
So.
That's really wonderful to see that kind of feedback loop.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to thank both you guys. This has been wonderful to have you here. You've been enlightening, informative guests, and I certainly appreciate it. I feel like I'm enriched and enlightened by all this demonstration and discussion. So thank you very much, and we'll stay in touch and follow up.
Thanks for having us. It's really exciting to be here.
Excellent, and I hope you'll come back and be with us on Likeable Science next week. Until then.